Hello, Natroners, and welcome back to another episode of VFX with Natron. So, today is the first day of the new time frame. It's a little later than it has been in the past. And my schedule's been a wee bit busier due to all the looting and plundering that we've been doing. So, I thought, for starters, we would try and just keep things a wee bit on the tame backside. You know, we won't be making anything super duper big. But when I was looking through some of the old videos and so forth, while I was uploading them to YouTube, I noticed that there was, I had mentioned, we could add controls to, an SE noise, or not an SE noise, excuse me, SeExpr. And I was realizing, I had said we would address that at some point in the future, and I never got around to actually doing it. So I thought that today we're going to keep it light. This is going to be pretty darn simple. It's stuff we've sort of gone over in the past. But anyway, let's pop over into Natron and look at what we've got. So, we've seen this before. We've got our fire. We've done the fire thing before. This is not animated. This is actually copied from the episode where I was, or one of the episodes where I was talking about SeExpr. And one of the things that becomes completely clear when you haven't touched a node like this in a while is you've got all these controls. I've got X1, X2. I've got pause 1, I've got color 1, I've got color 2. Well, the colors are kind of easy. Those we know what they do. But what the heck is X1? I'm looking at it, it doesn't tell me anything, and that's a big problem with the SeExpr. We can't just name what's already there. The controls are what they're called, and so we're stuck with it. Now, admittedly, we could make this into its own, group this and make, go through the whole motion of making a group. But, from a standpoint of keeping things simple, and for a single node to make an entire group is a little bit excessive. So, I want to just point out that something that exists that we use in groups when we make plugins, etc., is we create user panels, and a lot of people think of them as a group specific thing, but they're not. They can be used on individual nodes. So if you have a node and you want to add new controls to it, that's actually one of the better ways of doing it, and that's actually what we're going to do today. All we have to do basically is, first of all, we need to figure out what this does. I think I know. I think this is a scale, is basically adjusting the piece scale so that we can change the size of this. Yes, it looks like that, just to up the size. Now, the big problem we have is, of course, here's one of the problems. This is a value range of negative 1,000 to positive 1,000. If I put this at negative 500, which looks only like halfway, let's see what that does. It's probably going to becomes just a pointless thing. Let's go positive 500. Is probably going to look just as pointless in the opposite direction. So this tells us 0 if we just clicked on it randomly. We really have to take it down a very small increments to make this useful. So it makes sense to add a control to control this. Obviously, we know it's the scale. I'll just figure that out just by adjusting it. Plus, I can see X1 right there. We're not that dumb. Anyway, so X1 does that. So I'm only going to be focusing on doing one tonight because I want to keep, again, this simple. It's late, and I know it's very late for people in Europe, and let's put this back. So let's add it. Let's go in here. We can see here if we click on our gear up at the top, we get manage user parameters, and we go over here and we click on add. And it says this does not have a user page yet. You need to create one. Well, we'll call it user user or custom controls. Cool. All right, so we're going to call it custom controls. Is going to be the script name. It's whatever. I didn't think we're going to have a problem with it. It's not going to conflict with anything that's already in there. It's a bit wordy for from a standpoint of coding, but whatever, you can rename this whatever. We're gonna put for a label, we're gonna call it my controls. My controls. And you know, you can put spaces into your label because that's just the label that's going to appear up here. We're going to hit OK. And for right now, we're going to just hit cancel because all I want to do is get the custom controls here and move it up. I want it to be on the far left because I want this to be the first thing that comes up when you open the node. Now, it's not showing up in our group right now because there's nothing there's no actual controls on it. So we need to, what we're going to do here is we're going to pick from our SeExpr node, which is this one, this very node. We're going to actually, we're going to make an alias. We're going to keep it so it's directly, actually, do we want to... Well, we'll try it this way. Well, for right now, we're just going to keep it simple. We'll keep it so let's see what we want to select. X1 is going to be the thing that we pick. We'll just keep it there, and we're going to leave it just like this for right now because we're going to edit this in a minute. We could have added it to a group. We're going to keep it making an alias so that it's directly manipulating this as opposed to working with an expression. Just to keep things simple. All right, so we do that, and there we go. There's my controls showing up. We'll hit close, and we can see over here we have it. Now, it doesn't look right. There's a problem. We can't actually grab the control very easily, and it is goes up, and it doesn't do it very well. So now that we've added the control, what we want to do is edit it. So we're going to manage to use the parameters, select that, go to edit it. And here it's filled out all these variables for us. What we're going to do is just change it so that the minimum is no longer going to be this ridiculous thing. We're going to make it, the minimum is going to be negative. Actually, wait a minute. We're not going to do that. I hit cancel. I'm going to edit it. I want to keep those correct. What we're going to do is set for the display minimum and display maximum. That's what we want to change. We want to keep the range, the overall range, at its biggest possibilities, which it is by default, but we don't want it to go from negative 1000 to positive 1000, and we want to give this a much better name, and we're also going to try and organize it and sort of make it look better so that we can control it better. All right, so I think we want to make it so that this works in a range of -1 for you, just for controlling the slider. We can always push it above and beyond, but we're going to set it -1 is the minimum, +1 is going to be the maximum, and we'll put 0.0 so that it knows it's floating point. It should be floating point anyway. Yeah, it says it's a floating point, so we'll keep the default value is going to be 0. It's going to be on custom controls, and let's change this name. The name is the big thing. We don't want this to be X1. We want this to be something that the user is going to understand and know what it does just by looking at it. So this is going to be we'll call it texture size. Textual size. All right, so there we go. We've done that. We're going to say start on the new line because I do want that on the new line. When I hit OK, we can see that it's there. Now we have a problem here that again. Wait a minute, something went wrong. Nan values have been converted to 1. That's weird. It's possible that because it needs it to be 1 by default. You know what? I think we want to do that. Oh. Yes. All right. So let's go manage user parameters. Go here. Let's edit that. Let's set it to. This is the only downside to this is that if we have to edit again to change something, we need to we have to re-enter the whole thing. I wish that didn't happen with Natron. I don't know why. Maybe the programs, can get in there and fix this. But anyway, for right now, for our purposes, -1, +1. I'm not going to put the dots. I'm going to put 1.0, and that should be good. We should be good, and there we go. All right, so it goes -1 to +1. There we go. We have 1 by default, and now we're not getting that 0 error because 0 is a non-usable number for the size. It doesn't do anything. So, all right, let's try and fix the spacing. Now, this is something we haven't talked about really, is organizing and controlling this. If you make when you've worked with groups in the past, things sort of fit the way, but I'll have to change something here. I'm constantly looking over it as this little monitor I don't want to be looking at. I apologize. It's like I'm looking there when I should be looking here. All right, so we need to add some extras. There's some extra bits we can add into this to organize it so that this, because we can see this control, we only get like this half a bubble there. And I won't guarantee, sometimes once you've added a half a bubble, it remains a half a bubble until the next time you load it, but I can't do anything. So we need to give it a, what I did is I clicked on add, and this is creating a custom thing, a custom type of script. Instead of defining it by a pre-made control, we're making our own control. And so what we're going to do is we have our type list here, and it starts off with integer, and we have all these extras here, and we have separators, which is a separator adds a line, and then one of the things I like to do is I like to use labels, because you can leave a label basically empty, and it will move it down. I'm just double checking to make sure. I thought there was one other thing. You can use groups as well to make twirly bits and stuff. But I think I talked about that in the past, but it's been a while since I did it. It's been a long week. We'll just do label. All right. So we're gonna give this a label. We're just gonna call it a spacer. And we'll call it spacer 1 because we're probably, in most situations, if you're actually doing a lot of these, you're going to want to add a lot of labels. We're going to keep the value is what it actually has. We're going to leave it empty because, well, we don't want it to do anything. We do want it to start a new line that should hopefully space it down. Let's just try that for right now and hit OK and see whether that did anything. Now it's not, spacer 1 is below the other control, so we want to just move it up 1, and you can see that moved it down a little bit. It hasn't fixed the problem. Let's see if we can edit that, and maybe what happens if we hit like I think if you type, oh yeah, I wasn't planning for this. Let's try, I think it's /end as a new line. No, that didn't do what we wanted. All right, let's edit it. Let's try, it's not that, is it this? It's been a while. I don't know if that works. Nope, that does not seem to work either. All right, we'll just hit return. Whoops, no. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I want to delete that. Hit return. All right, anyway, you can add more spaces and stuff in here to manipulate it down and whatnot. Let's put a separator in there. Let's see if a separator. We'll try we'll just do sep1 and put in. We're going to leave it blank so that it just puts a line. You can put a label next to the line if you wanted to say this. You know, I think we did that before. We said head control and so forth when we were doing puppet animation. We're going to leave it blank, which ought to put it there, and we can see the line below it. We'll move the separator up 1. And it's still not the best in the world. Let's see if we move this down. That makes things work a little bit better. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. This is just going to be one of those controls that just displays. It may, on reloading, change. But we can see we can change this. And by changing it, we can change the size. We can, I think, I don't know if it works in negative. Oh, it does work in negative. Just be careful you don't want it to be 0 for that matter. So there we go. We've made it a custom control. We can see that it's a texture size. We drag it, it controls it. If we wanted to add color, we could add our color controls in here. And this separates it so that we have controls for controlling it, and it's much more organized. And this way, when you make a project, you know, 6 months down the line, or however long it happens to be, and you go and you start looking at these things, it'll make more sense. I know this is really short, very simple. I really didn't want this to be a long one. Long days. Yeah. We can, if you really want to. Yeah. We need to do one more thing. Natron's been really nice today, but what's if you not giving a? Well, I'm gonna shoot it with the cannon. Why? Because we can. Boy. Whoops. Hi. It didn't fire. There we go. We shot the cannon. Cannon's gone. All in Natron. Alright. Here we go. Back here. So, right. This is probably the shortest video we've done in a long time. But, we went over, it's simple. We went over some basic information. I don't know that, as far as the node is concerned, the node was a node that we had done before. It came straight from basically one of the other projects, one of the SeExpr projects. So there we go. We're good to go. Thanks for watching and keep on Natroning.